Time+Tide, the Australian watch authority, since 2014.
Grand Seiko is a brand that has a lot of love out there, and it's easy to see why. The watches look great. But alongside the love, there's also some confusion sometimes. It's an intimidating topic to get into. There's reference numbers with confusing bits, there's lots of nicknames, and there's all this other stuff that, if you're just starting to get into watches or into Grand Seiko, can really leave you in the dark. So we've put together 10 things that we think you need to know about Grand Seiko. Let's get into it. One of the first things you'll probably come across when you start learning about Grand Seiko is the Snowflake. It's one of the most popular models, and it refers, funnily enough, to this watch. It's a spring drive, it's titanium, but the real draw card is the dial. It's luscious and subtle, and it looks like a beautiful field of crisp snow. Spring drive is another real Grand Seiko specific term. It's a movement technology that is unique to them, and it's something that we've covered in depth elsewhere. So search our YouTube for it. In short, spring drive uses 3 different types of power. Automatic or kinetic power. There's electronic power with sort of using that traditional quartz integrated circuit to regulate it. And there's also magnetic power in there as well. Basically, super accurate and a super smooth sweeping second hand. It's a cool technology. Another phrase you'll hear a lot around Grand Seiko, particularly because they often print it on their dials, is high beat. And while it's not something that's unique to the brand, it's something that they're very accomplished at. High beat refers to the beat rate of the movement. Grand Seiko's beat at 10 beats per second, so what that means is that little tick, 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 tick of the second hand, there's 10 of those a second. And it's also a testament to the quality. They're not as easy to do as there's a little bit more finesse involved in a high beat movement. The dials of Grand Seiko are one of the things that makes them really special. There's famous ones like the Snowflake, and there's recent models that have, the real sort of beautiful tessellated monogrammed patterns, and there's ones called the Peacock. There's a lot of nicknames out there. But even when the dials aren't those special limited editions, the regular dials are phenomenal too. They put an amount of care and attention that really punches above the weight. If you look at how the dials are finished, it's smooth and even, and the hour markers are really crisply cut and given a mirror polish. If you look at one of the dials close up, you'll see the quality, and I guess that's why people really love it. Another word that you'll hear a lot in Grand Seiko circles is zaratsu. And this can be a little bit confusing at first, but basically it refers to a case finishing technique. Grand Seiko cases are finished by hand. They'll be cut by a machine, but they'll be hand polished. And they're so precise, and the craftspeople working on them are so skilled. You get really sharp edges and clear delineations between the brushed and the polished finishes. Zaratsu is a Grand Seiko term. Other brands will use a similar type of finish, but they do it really, really well. The relationship between Seiko and Grand Seiko, it's the same company, but they're 2 different brands. Grand Seiko is finished to a much higher degree. There's lots more handwork involved, and generally the technical components are sort of a different flavour. That's not to say that Seiko aren't exceptional, but you certainly get a lot more prestige and finishing and polish for your money with Grand Seiko. One of the more frustrating things for a lot of people, myself included, about Grand Seiko are the reference numbers. Lots of watch brands will give you easy to understand names. This one, for example, a lot of people call it the Snowflake. That's because SBGA 211 is less, rolling off the tongue. There's always 4 letters at the start. SBG something. And that last letter actually refers to the type of movement inside. So SBGA is spring drive, H is for high beat, J is for high beat GMT, M is for an automatic GMT, E is for a spring drive GMT, C is for a spring drive chronograph, V is for quartz, and W is for a manually wound mechanical. Confusingly, some Grand Seiko watches say Seiko, Grand Seiko. What is it? Well, it's an older Grand Seiko, back when they, for some reason, included both brands on the dial. They've cleared that up in more recent years, so now new production watches will only say Grand Seiko. This is one of those perennial questions when someone starts learning about Grand Seiko. How are they different from Swiss watches, and how are they the same? Unfortunately, it doesn't really have a simple or easy answer. In a lot of ways, the Japanese learnt from the Swiss and built upon those same values of really, quality finishing and fine mechanical craftsmanship. It's also something that the Japanese have taken with, especially with Grand Seiko, and run with. They are, obsessed is too strong a word, but they're really, really concerned with fine, precision watchmaking. So accuracy is something they care about. They care about having a watch that will last for a long time. And they care about a watch that will look great. So the level of finishing on the dials, on the case, is really, really high, generally speaking. That's not to say the Swiss don't have all these things, but that's the focus of Grand Seiko. Just when you thought you were safe with Seiko and Grand Seiko, there's Credor. It's another in-house brand within Seiko, and it is, again, it's that really sort of high level of finish. It's mostly, popular in the Japanese domestic market, and it has that same real sort of dressy aesthetic and high level of finish and quality shared with Grand Seiko. But that's for a topic for another video. So, if you've never heard about Grand Seiko before, or if you know all about them, I still hope you've learned something today. We've covered off spring drives, snowflakes, Zaratsu, Credor, dials, all sorts of good stuff. But obviously we're only just scratching the surface, so there's lots more to dive into. You can do it on our website, you can watch more videos, you can do your own research, or you can just ask us what you want to know.